All right, what's going on, everybody? We got a bit of a fun stream planned today. Today I want to talk about the strongest character in Dandadan. Obviously, today we had the second episode of the anime. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, but everyone is really liking it. I saw the clip of Gigi transform in Evil Eye form and like him doing his kicks, and it looks just as amazing as you would expect from Science Haru. We got Eden's. What's going on, Eden's? A baby getting eaten by a shark almost first. You know what? Second place is still on the podium. We got Justin. What's going on, Justin? How you doing? Should SBR have 3 cores with 16 episodes each? I don't know exactly how many episodes, but I do think they should split it up into parts for sure. I forget when I said this. I don't know if I recorded this for a video or what, but I feel like enough time has passed where people don't really care about parts anymore. When Dave Pro and Netflix did that for Stone Ocean, it was still pretty new to like split an anime up across like 6 months. So people were pretty pissed about that. And they also didn't market that. So like it was new and then nobody expected that to happen. And then they just kind of dropped it the day the first part came out or something like that. Now it's the new norm. So like people don't care that and it's also weird because like sometimes they'll call it season 1 part 2 and then they call it season 2. So it's like, but I think splitting JoJo's up into parts will be like almost not inconsequential, but like fine, because everyone does it now. Like everyone does it. When they did it for Stone Ocean, it was pretty novel. Like it was a new thing and people didn't like it. But now it's like the norm. Dandadan, Bleach, right? Everybody's doing it. Waiting to see what episode 4 and beyond are going to look like because the movie looked really good. Yeah. I don't think it's going to be a matter of visuals for Dandadan. I think Dandadan is always going to look amazing. I think what people need to look out for is like specifically how they adapt things, right? So like I haven't seen the new episode, but I imagine they did a really good job of making Evil Eye's, you know, the character we call Evil Eye, their backstory super, you know, like graphic, emotional, vulnerable. That's exactly what they did for Acrobatic Silky, right? And like they didn't really change anything for Acrobatic Silky, but they made Acrobatic Silky's backstory cinematic as the only way to describe it. And I imagine they did the same thing for Evil Eye. So that's kind of the Science Haru brand, at least when it comes to Dandadan, is watching not so much how they animate things or even how they change things, but like just how they adapt things, like the style they go for. I mean, I don't really like watching weekly, so I'd like split parts. Yeah, I feel like people who keep up with anime weekly, like every week, not a small minority, but I do feel they are the minority. Anytime I talk to somebody about a show, 9 times out of 10, they say, oh, They either say something like, "Oh, I'm waiting for it to finish," or they say, "Oh, I'm like a few episodes behind. I kind of just let it build up," right? It's very rare to find someone who consistently watches a show or several shows every week. And even if someone says they try to, it's hard to do that. With all the TV that's out right now, and with everyone working their butts off, sometimes it's just hard to like watch an episode the day it comes out. I haven't had time to read Kagurabachi. That's all right. You know, Kagurabachi's doing all right. We got Oscar in the chat. What's going on, Oscar? Pleasure to have you. Good to see you. How you doing today? And everybody else, how we doing today? What we doing on this Thursday? We're about a third of the way through the month. And honestly, we're off to a great start for the summer season. Oh, speaking of which, show of hands or show of responses, I guess, in chat. Who's checked out the new Panty and Stocking episode? Can anyone tell me what they think of Panty and Stocking if you've actually watched it? Because I haven't had time to watch the new episode today, if it is out. But I'm super excited for it. The content, I'm looking forward to the new content. I'm looking forward to watching the dub because they recast the English dub, so I'm curious to see how this new generation of voice actors will take the characters. I also just found out some exciting news about the anime, which I will I'll keep to myself because it's not private news, but I probably shouldn't go advertising it either. But yeah, for a bunch of reasons, I'm excited to watch Panty and Stocking. Oh my god, Fist of the North Star. Don't even get me started. I almost want to make a video on CGI anime and why they keep making them. And to be fair, I don't mind CGI in anime like some people do. Some people are like anti-CGI extremists. Like they want everything to be hand-drawn on, you know, on like actual paper, and they just want anime to be produced on like film reels, right? Like it's 1972. Yeah, it's crazy to me though that they're still putting out like entirely CGI anime. I think the best way to do it is to do like Sanzigen does, like they did for the Guilty Gear anime, where you do a balance between 2D and 3D. But man, it's crazy. Or you have to be like Studio Orange and just be like killer when it comes to CG animation. The ones who don't know what bad CGI looks like, yeah. Bad CGI is like the Berserk anime, and the Fist of the North Star anime, the new one, it doesn't even look good. Like if it was like Trigun Stampede, I'd be like, oh, that's dope. That actually looks really cool. But it just looks so half-assed. My first question is like, who is this for? All right. Like Fist of the North Star is by no means a niche series. It's one of Jump's biggest series, right? Everybody knows what it is. Incredibly influential. That being said, I don't know who this anime is for, right? Like, who is this for? Who asked for a Fist of the North Star remake? I love Fist of the North Star. I haven't had the chance to read it, but I think it's a cool series. But But I've never seen anyone say, or at least not recently, I haven't seen anyone say, hey, you know what needs a remake? Fist of the North Star. Right? Like what? Like, bro, they're making bullshit like this. Where's the Yu Yu Hakusho remake? Give us that. Give us that. I was excited when they dropped a teaser for Fist of the North Star. I was like, oh, awesome, right? Probably gonna get animated by Dave Pro if it's Warner Brothers, but nope. Just some CGI bullshit. You think AI will be used for the storyboards of the anime? I don't know about the storyboards, but they might as well have bots making that show. Like, I have no interest. I genuinely have no interest. Even if they do a really good job of adapting the story and they like flesh out certain parts or whatever, it's like, it's going to be unwatchable. Let me catch up with chat here. Do you think animated JoJolion will be far easier than part 7? I don't know what you mean by that question. Do you think animating JoJolion? Yeah, I'm not sure what you mean by that question. Will I read or watch Magi? Yeah, I want to get to that at some point. I know it's like a really popular series, like a lot of people like it. I might do that this month. I might check out Magi. It's on my list for sure. Yeah, what does everybody think about the Solo Leveling live adaptation announcement? I think a ton of people are going to watch it, and I think it'll be okay. But I don't think it's going to be as good as people are hoping for. I don't know. I always said I thought a live action One Piece remake would never look good, and it actually doesn't look that bad. It looks pretty good. And the cast for, you know, like the Straw Hats and everything is actually really good. So I think they could make a good adaptation, but my initial thoughts are they're not going to, it's not going to be what people expect it to be. Like, people are going to expect it to be like literally just Solo Leveling but real life, but they're going to be in for a rude awakening. Like, think about the way the fights work in Solo Leveling. You have people jumping off of walls, like literally jumping off of walls in Solo Leveling, right? Like, you have people running up monsters in Solo Leveling. You have all this wild shit they do in that series. So I think a live action adaptation could 100% work, and I guess we're just gonna have to find out and see. But yeah, I don't think it's gonna be what people are expecting it to be. It's always Netflix doing live action adaptations. Hey man, people like to meme on Netflix, but as far as I know, it's like the #1 streaming site right now. And I'm pretty sure if you're an anime watcher, besides like Crunchyroll, most people are watching their anime on Netflix. So you can meme on Netflix all you want, but the shit works. Like, to put it this way, after Toei and Shueisha, Netflix basically owns One Piece. They have rights to, they have a license, not the license, but they have a license to stream the original One Piece anime. They're the only site where you can watch the Netflix or the live action remake, right? So they have the original show, they have an original adaptation, right? And then they're making the One Piece. That's also going to be a Netflix exclusive, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, say what you will about Netflix, but they're sharks, man. Like, they're ahead of the game. They just tweeted today. Anime viewership on Netflix has like doubled or tripled or something, or gone up like crazy in the last 5 years. So yeah, anime is bigger than ever, and Netflix is leading the charge on that one. How Disney screwed that up, I have no idea. Like, Disney has Hulu. I think Disney like seriously needs to start getting like Disney exclusive anime, which they kind of do, but like they need like a real banger. They had Tokyo Revengers, but they came in late on that one. They had Undead Unluck, but that one kind of flopped. Also, that's not like the biggest series in the world. They need like yeah, I don't even know what they would do, because they're never gonna get Jump, because Jump, if they're doing anything, they're putting their stuff on Netflix. At least outside of Japan. Yeah, I don't know. That's a tricky one. Biggest streaming sites 2025. This is the Google AI answer, so this is not an official thing. Netflix is still the largest, 260 million subscribers. That is huge. That's like a ton of people. Amazon Prime is very big. Disney Plus is big. I'm curious how long it'll be before YouTube starts getting some anime exclusives. YouTube TV is a weird one, because I feel like a bunch of people have it, and I feel like it's still on the rise, but it doesn't really have exclusives. Like, when was the last time you said, oh, have you seen that new show on YouTube? But like, if you canceled everything else and got YouTube, it's actually a pretty good deal. Where they get you though is the packages, like all the bundles. But yeah, as far as streaming goes, Amazon in general is really big, but they dropped the ball on anime big time. Disney / Hulu is still trying to figure it out. Although I take that back, because they have Bleach. They have 1,000 Year Blood War. That's like the one thing they've done right, as far as I can think of, is 1,000 Year Blood War. Other than that, yeah, Netflix is killing it. I mean, Dandadan, One Piece. You can watch Frieren on Netflix too. Disney have the villain anime, which is Magical School. Okay. Do you think Dandadan is in the same bracket as Naruto, One Piece, and Bleach, or is it too soon? I mean, that depends on what we're talking about. If we're talking about like influence or like impact, still too early. But if we're just talking about like story quality, I would say it's in the same ballpark. I still think it's too early, because it doesn't even have, what do we just hit chapter 200 the other day. I'm of the opinion, if you like a series that's like 200 chapters long and you want to compare it to a series that's like 1,000 chapters long, it doesn't matter. Story is story. If it's a good story, it's a good story. Shouldn't matter that one is longer than the other. That being said, specifically when it comes to the big three, if we're trying to say like, is Dandadan the story better than, say, Bleach? Excuse me. Specifically when you're talking about a story like Bleach, Bleach has like a very unique lifetime to it, where like it had like the intro arc, right? the Soul Reaper arc, whatever it is. Then it had Soul Society, which is like one of the biggest peaks in any series ever. Like if you doubt how huge Bleach was, like how hype early Bleach was, I encourage you to go back and reread Bleach from the beginning. The ramp up from like chapter 1, and then like once you get through those first few chapters, the ramp up from that point up through Soul Society is to this day one of the biggest early experiences in a story ever, for that matter, not just anime and manga. It's crazy because I feel like it really is underrated. But to get back to what I was saying, so it had Soul Society, then it had Arankar, we'll just call it Arankar, right? And then it had Substitute Soul Reaper, right? Which was like its like first true break transition between arcs. Then it had Thousand Year Blood War, which was like the ultimate finale, right? You can definitely talk about Dandadan in the same conversation as the big three, but it's too early to really talk about like a story-wise it being better than them, just because it doesn't have the same lifetime. Like, you would have to compare Dandadan right now, chapter 200, to a Bleach like halfway through, either Bleach just up through Soul Society, or Bleach halfway through Hueco Mundo or Arankar. Which, if it was just that, I would say Bleach wins. But again, like, that's an unfair comparison. But it definitely deserves to be in the same conversation, for sure. Vinland Saga ends this month. Yeah, Vinland Saga ends in 14 days, 15 days. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be an amazing final chapter. Eden's earlier, you said, I've been enjoying the Magi manga read. Excuse me. You should get on it when you have the time. Yeah, I remember a while ago you were telling me read the manga before I watched the anime. So I gotta read it soon. I always hear how good it's supposed to be. Yeah, Vinland Saga is going to be a tearjerker for sure. It already has, but it's going to be crazy. What was I going to say? Anyway, so I want to talk about, I'm starting it late, but that's all right. Which series ended worse, JJK or My Hero? Honestly, and this might be a hot take, I would say JJK. Like, at least My Hero, whether you like it or not, had a proper resolution. JJK, like, basically doesn't have a resolution. Like, the one saving grace of the ending is the character growth of Yuji. Yuji has probably the best character arc in the story, and you wouldn't see the full extent of it without his interaction with Sukuna. But man, everything else about like the last 30 chapters or so, like everything after Gojo versus Sukuna, it just sucks. Besides the Yuji stuff, it sucks. Like the stuff with what's his name, Hakari and Urame, ridiculous, literally offensive. That's how bad it is. It's offensive. It's offensively bad. the Urame stocks were through the roof from most of Jujutsu Kaisen. People are like, oh, dude, she's going to be like an endgame villain. She's going to be like one of the final bosses, right? She's going to be like an endgame boss. Man, what a joke that was. And then the final chapter had its saving graces, right? Like it had some good moments. But like, what the shit was going on with like all those random lore drops? Like, really? Really? Stupid. But I want to talk about Dandadan. They better flesh that out in the anime, or I doubt it. There's so much that needs to be addressed. They would basically have to write a new season, which is just not going to happen. But anyway, I want to talk about Dandadan characters because Dandadan is a weird series. Dandadan is technically a battle series, especially now, but nobody really power scales it. There's not really a big power scaling scene for Dandadan. Part of that is because it's still fairly new, right? Like we're only on season 2 of the anime. Power scaling is fairly mainstream, so I feel like that usually only happens when a series gets big, right? Like Gachi Akuta is just getting its anime, so like there is power scaling, but it's not that big. But yeah, there's not really a big power scaling scene for Dandadan. Part of it is because it's new, but part of it is because Dandadan is kind of weird to power scale. The best example of this is like Dandadan doesn't really have a hard power system. And I've talked about this in bits and pieces before, but like Dandadan, it doesn't really have power levels. It doesn't have like hard rules for the power system. The closest thing we have to like power scaling rules, right, is the stuff with aura, right? So like every yokai has aura, so like that's a thing. There was the stuff with Spiral that Turbo Granny explained. And then there was also the stuff they did when they had the fight at the school with like the musician ghosts. And Turbo Granny was teaching Okarun about like tempo, and he was like doing the timed attacks. But other than that, like there's no power levels. There's no like hard counters to stuff. There's like exorcism stuff, but like that's not really a hard counter. That's just one tool. But yeah, it's weird because it's a battle series and fights are a big part of the story, but it's not really like a power scaling story. It doesn't really have a hard power system. Yokai power system and alien power system is genius. I mean, how is it genius though? Like, I think so it works because it doesn't try to be a power system. It's just like, oh, hey, here's a bunch of cool abilities, blah, right? Like it's just characters doing cool stuff. Doesn't try to add structure to it. So it works. But in terms of like writing a power system, not genius, it's just not having one. I just don't think the powers are displayed in a way that makes you initially think to power scale it. Yes and no. Yes, but also like you don't need the story to tell you to power scale things. I mean, look at the manga and anime community at large. They power scale everything. They power scale One Piece. They power scale Sakamoto days, right? Like they power scale everything. So that being said, there are no power levels, so like you don't think to power scale, right? But at the same time, there are powers, there's transformations, there's different types of abilities, right? Like there's subclasses. So it's like kind of there, the pieces are there, but like there isn't a lot to tie it together. The nice thing is that means you can kind of just make stuff up on your own. Like if you want to say, that Okarun could, you know, whatever, get a Super Saiyan transformation, technically there's nothing to say that that could never happen, because it's possible. Yeah, the Black Clover animation illustrations are going to be dope. That could not come sooner. Probably because it's more character focused than fight focused. It has good fights, but not really much to scale because the powers are so malleable. Yeah, it's not... I guess part of the reason I'm bringing this up is because it is shifting more into fights, right? Like the current arc we're in has almost completely been one-on-one fights or like team-ups, right? And characters are, for the most part, always getting new abilities that come back later. So Black Clover did rip off the Sharingan. How did they rip off the Sharingan? I'm saying that the powers in the battles too don't make you think who would win versus Okarun and Gigi. Not necessarily that a power system is needed. Yeah, I guess. I guess what we're getting at is that Dandadan is more character focused, right? So like, it technically is a battle series, but it feels weird to call it that. So like, it's not like, I'm trying to think of a good example. I don't want to use One Piece as a crutch. Typically in a series, like characters will have like canon power levels, right? So like in Bleach, for example, you have lieutenants, you have captains, you have Bankai, right? Like there's canon measurements of power levels. Dandadan doesn't have anything like that. Dandadan has certain pieces that you could yourself use to make a power system, but you would kind of have to fill in a lot of the blanks. MHA, I would say, is one of those series that doesn't have a standard power system, but there's plenty of who would win scenarios. Yeah, I feel like My Hero is actually a really good example because the whole #1 hero, like the hero ranking system, is not about power level. That is its own thing. But because the series is like so much about fights and quirks are such a big deal in that series, you're absolutely right. Like there's a ton of like who would win. You know what the other part of it is? And I'm actually gonna jot this down. Sorry for staring at the back of my head here. I gotta grab my notes. I just got an idea for a video, but you're gonna hear about it right now. Dandadan like almost doesn't have villains. It's really weird to say, but if you think about it, right? So like it has a lot of antagonists, but for most of the story, it doesn't really have villains. The closest thing we get is the like evil alien empire, but even then we don't meet like whoever's like in charge of it, I guess, unless the aliens we fought were the guys in charge, but I don't know if that's the case. It might be, but even then, like, there was no direct conflict between, excuse me, the main cast and those alien characters. It was more about like just stopping the invasion. You know what I mean? Like, they didn't feel like villains, I guess. They were faceless. We didn't really know anything about them. They were like purposefully kept mysterious, right? To give them that sort of air of threat, right? But they don't feel like villains. It isn't until we meet, excuse me, Count Saint Germain that we really get like our first true villain of Dandadan. And that's like 3/4 of the way into the story, like chapter 130, right? When he's revealed to be like big bad. It's interesting. Dandadan is such a weird story because it's a romance and a battle shonen at the same time. So it has all the same parts of a battle shonen and all the same parts of a romance, and they kind of do both things at the same time. And it balances really well, but the more you think about it, the more it means it's not like truly one of those things on their own. Like Dandadan is a romance, but it's not like a true romance. Like, you do read it to follow Okarun and Momo, but like, you don't really follow Dandadan purely for romance. Like, the romance is a big part, but like, you really don't. And it's the same thing with the action stuff. You watch Dandadan for like the weird abilities and like fights, but like, do you truly in your heart of hearts follow Dandadan for the fights on the same level you would for, say, Bleach or One Piece? Sort of, but not really. So it's weird. It's interesting. It makes Dandadan basically unlike anything else. Like, even compared to a story like Undead Unluck. Like, Undead Unluck has almost the same premise as Dandadan, right? Same structure, you know, main duo, couple, weird powers, freaky world, monsters and stuff. But Undead Unluck absolutely has a hard power system, absolutely has like power levels. So it's not quite like Dandadan. It's very hard to compare Dandadan really to anything else. I'm here for the rom-com nonsense. The fights and art are a beautiful bonus. That's kind of how I feel. Not entirely the romance. The romance is a big part of it. I'm here for the characters. That's pretty much it. I follow One Piece for backstories. They are the best things in the series. True. Power scalers usually make fandoms very toxic. Look what they do to Jujutsu Kaisen. Everything about Gojo. Stupid Infinite. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, power scalers do add friction to communities for sure. That being said, power scaling is fun. Like, when you're not like constantly trying to make everything fit your headcanon, fit your head canon, excuse me. And when you're not constantly trying to like review everything to make sure it's like consistent with feats, power scaling is really fun. Like when you just keep it as simple as like, you know, could Okaroon, I don't know, could Okaroon beat the Flash in a race? Like that's a fun conversation to have, but that's power scaling. It's also a useful tool for literary analysis, because if you're going to have a battle series, then all the feats and all the rules that you drop at one point or another are means of evaluating whether the writing in the story is consistent. Because like if you say a thing is a thing in chapter 100 and then in chapter 200 you do something that's like completely completely contradicts that, it's like, did you forget? Like, what are we doing here? The romance is what makes Dandadan special. Too many shonen have the worst main characters when it comes to getting the girl. Yeah. I mean, sometimes the best answer is to just not have that trope in general. I mean, look at Ichi the Witch. Ichi the Witch, I'm sure at some point we'll have some kind of romantic interest character, but it just avoids that problem altogether. It just doesn't have one. Same thing with Gachi Akuta. Like there are, I'm sure you could form some headcanon about like ships in Gachi Akuta. That's not really a thing. Videos about the story of Jujutsu Kaisen and like actual analytical videos are very rare now. Part of that is just because the manga is over, so like nobody cares. But also the ending sucks. So like it's just not fun to talk about it. The worst guy that has the worst trouble getting a girl is Denji. Denji can get girls. The problem is he should probably give that a break. That's his problem. I'm still on the side that thinks it'll be Kumagi, but time will tell. That could happen. Kumagi is like weirdly on the bench right now. Like she's part of the main crew, but like she almost feels like comic relief. I'm sure she's gonna have her moment to shine, but right now she's not really like a huge appeal in the story. But I feel like it's only a matter of time for her. You could also say this for Kagurabachi. Kagurabachi is on like chapter 80 something, chapter 90. Still no romantic interest in that story. That's just not a thing. So shonen manga are kind of doing away with this. Some stories stick to it, but a lot of stories are kind of moving away from the old tropes. Is Queen Sensei a top 3 shonen baddie? Queen Sensei is... How do I do this and do her justice? Queen Sensei is the answer to all of life's problems. That's really the best I can put it. And even that doesn't do it justice. Like, man, if I could find a way to do it, I would make an entire video just about Queen Sensei. I don't know how I would do it, but maybe not just about Queen Sensei, maybe about like other characters. But man, Queen Sensei, what a character. Amazing story. Generational writing. Influential, iconic, sensational. What else could I say? JJK character analysis videos are some of my favorite. Mahito, Sukuna, So Dense. JJK has a lot of potential to like pick apart, but the answer is like, where does it lead? Like, yeah, you have to talk about the ending for the most part. A video on Queen Sensei for the people. That would be very hard to market. Like what? Because you got to make that like interesting to people who don't necessarily know about Dandadan. So that if I did that, I would have to do a video on like, you know, like all the like Ara characters. Either that or like, I don't know. I don't know what trope. She's not like a trope character, but I feel like she could fit into a couple of tropes or archetypes. It also wouldn't feel fair to like throw her in the ring with like badass female characters, because like she has the energy, but like she hasn't really fought anybody, so it's like it's a little much. A video on older women of Dandadan. True. Maybe a video on the women of Dandadan. Yes. We might have just found a gem. Gonna have to write that down. I'm saying this right now. If somebody uploads this shit in the next month or so, I'm coming for you. Because you know damn well who thought of it. You guys did. The Women of Dandadan is actually a great idea. Because, I feel like, especially with conversations about Dandadan now, about like assault and like graphic content, I feel like people are getting the impression that Dandadan is indifferent and insensitive to like young characters and female characters, and I feel like that, or I don't feel like, I know, but that's really like the furthest thing from the truth. Yeah, the more I think about this, the more this video definitely needs to happen. I just don't know. I'm gonna have to brainstorm it for sure, but I think that could be a really fun video. I did something like that for Bleach already, so I'm gonna have to find a way to make that video and make it, you know, not just like a recoloring of the Bleach video I did, but yeah, I think this could be really fun. Now you guys see why I value our chat so much, because half the time you guys write my videos for me and now I just have to go record it. It's basically what happened. So if you ever had any doubts that you could be an anime YouTuber, you just witnessed basically what happens, what it takes. But yeah, it's crazy how this stream was supposed to be a power ranking stream and we haven't ranked anybody. Maybe that's the irony of Dandadan. Also, nobody told me about Panty and Stalking, so I'm assuming nobody has seen the episode. I want to see if it's actually out yet. I'm assuming it's out. I know people are at work and whatnot, but I would think somebody's seen it. Premiered on July 9th, so I'm assuming now. Where do I watch it? It's supposed to be on Amazon, right? Yeah, it's on Prime Video. Yeah, but wait, is it just the dub? Am I reading this right? I'm gonna have to check it out. Huh. That is good that the dub is available now, and like you don't have to wait till the end of the season or something. That's awesome. The Pantheon Stalking Season 2 got a whole new voice cast. It's on Amazon Prime. Yeah, honestly, I'm excited because I was worried they were going to keep the same cast but then recast Chris Sabat as Garterbelt. But honestly, if they recast everybody, that's fine. I think that's awesome. And honestly, I feel like we kind of need that. I feel like with a show that's 15 years old, it's better to give it kind of a facelift, so to speak. But yeah, it's different with like Bleach, because Bleach, like, they were finishing a story that needed to finish being adapted. Whereas like Pantheon Stalking Season 2, this is like basically a brand new show. Old characters, new show. Only the Japanese voices returned. Yeah, I think that's pretty much the case. Yeah, so honestly, that's really all I have to say. Before we wrap things up, as I always like to do, let's take a look at Manga Plus. So I want to see what the rankings are. So, One Piece number 1, Boruto number 2, Chainsaw Man, Dandadan, Kaiju, that's typical, Spy Family, Sakamoto Days. Kaitagami is in number 8, so it's doing really well. Although it's only got, what, 3 chapters? Yeah. We'll see how long it can stay. I don't think it'll stay in top 10 that long. Each of the Witch at number 10, that's awesome. Centauria, everything else is pretty standard. Ekidon Bros is at number 13, so we'll keep an eye on that one. Harukaze Mound is at number 17. Odor of the Flame at 15, so Odor of the Flame still doing pretty well. Everything else is the same. Ping Pong Peril is at 23. That's kind of to be expected. Martial King is at 27, so it's definitely moved down a bit, although that's still pretty standard. I mean, Marriage Toxin is 37. Gokuraku Guy is 25. So as long as Martial King is like top 30 or above, I'm happy. Kyoshi just does not want to budge from 35. It's like still relevant enough that like it's in the top 30s, but like I don't think I've seen it go to even the 34 spot once. That's crazy. Huh. And real quick, it's usually bar for bar the same, but I do want to see what the rankings on Shonen Jump are. Hot this week, Boruto, One Piece, Chainsaw Man, Dandadan, Kagurabachi. Yeah, so all the usual suspects. In that case, it's a little short. We're only 55 minutes, but that's all I have for today's stream. Check out the JoJo video I dropped today. It is not so much a spoiler video, so if you haven't read Steel Ball Run, it is for the most part friendly. It's more of like a general rant video about remakes, so make sure to check that out. I dropped it at 2 o'clock. Watch that today. Look out for Dandadan video tomorrow on Evil Eye. Did a backstory video on Evil Eye. And then also a panty and stocking video this weekend, which I am very excited to share with everyone. What else? No stream Sunday. Thank you, Justin, for pointing that out. I have a party to go to, so I won't be here Sunday. Monday, there should be a Gachi Akuta video. If not Monday, then Tuesday. And then... yeah, we'll stream Dandadan and some rant Monday. And that's pretty much it. Do I know who Kuroto is? No, I don't. Yeah, we also got Dr. Stone. Don't forget to check out Dr. Stone today. That's going to be it for me. Make sure to check out all the good stuff. Make sure to check out my new JoJo video, and I will see you guys Monday. Peace.